Middle of my sleep, I woke up and I'm going on Instagram scrolling.
Checking your likes.
And that scared
Checking
me.
your likes, checking your inbox, and also in a sad way, which is a sad, bitter truth that I was seeing how other people are faring. A portal like Instagram was never started for something like this.
It was supposed to be for photography,
It was
right?
supposed to be for photography,
It's not a
and
Facebook.
instant photography, not your photo shoots being promoted on it. The idea, that's why it's called Insta.
It was like just downhill for both of us. And that's when I realized by the time I reached 20, I was anorexic.
And she said, if you want to go on birth controls, but you may have cancer. I remember this girl coming up and asking Zoya, she was like, how did you lose weight? So Zoya said, I'm unwell. And she said, oh, how did you fall ill? Please tell me so I can fall ill and lose
Yeah,
weight.
I can never forget that. I became worse when I came to India. In India, I had a very hard time with the doctors explaining them. They didn't understand what eating disorders are in India.
Hi, you're listening to Voices in My Head with me, Yameer Adhar. And today I have for you not one but two very special guests. In fact, they're so special and the things they do are so meaningful and interesting that I had to prepare this long list of notes to introduce them properly to you. So, be it teaching monks at a Buddhist ashram or creating workshops to help people with addictive personalities, to helping children with different learning abilities, to those troubled with body image disorders and eating disorders, and using things like art therapy, which I had never heard of till I met them a couple of weeks ago, to founding a leading fashion and lifestyle portal called Touch and Be. These twin sisters have had quite a journey, and I promise that there is so much to learn from them. Zina and Zoya, welcome and thank you so much for taking out the time to talk to me today.
Hi, Yameer. Thank you
Hi,
for having
Yameer.
us.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here and share our life and experiences with you and through you.
So, Zina, I just want to quickly mention so that everybody's aware you're an entrepreneur, you're a writer, you're a fashionista, and you're a mental health advocate.
Yeah.
And Zoya also is a mental health advocate. She's an artist, she's an art therapist, she's a fashion curator, she's a stylist, and a health enthusiast. Oof! That's a big list, which is why I said that I needed this big introduction for you, which I know is not enough. So I want to start by just discussing with you. You guys used to be known as Terrible Twos,
Oh my God.
and I think that will be evident soon why. But from Terrible Twos to now this portal called Touch and Be, can you just share with me a little bit about your journey and how does Terrible Twos turn into Touch and Be?
Oh, it's been a journey. It's been a long journey because I think when we started Terrible Tours, it was essentially a fashion blog. And we were really young and we had too many things that we wanted to do. Like when you're young, you're passionate. You want to conquer the world. You want to do everything, have everything under your belt. And that's what Terrible Tours was. We did not have any direction. We just wanted to express ourselves through our love for fashion. And during when we were building Terrible Tours and doing shoots for all the luxury brands in India, we kind of realized there's more to what we want to experiment to in life. We liked art direction, we liked styling, we liked fashion as a whole for sure, but there were other things that were not fully satiating us. Talking about health. Health has been a big kind of element in our life, and I'm also talking about mental health here, mental and physical health. We've both dealt with chronic issues over the years, and I thought I wasn't doing myself justice with Terrible Tours and only just fashion. So health is something that we wanted to also talk about. Having people following us was the right way to influence them in the right way. Then lifestyle, interviewing people from across the world, artists, a writer, anybody who caught our eye, who doesn't have a very strong following, is not so popular in India or across the continent. We wanted to kind of give them light, shed light on them. So Touch and Be is kind of like our I won't call it the mature version, but it's also like the experienced version of Terrible Twos, where it's not just about how terrible we are,
Right.
but
I think going back to your question, when we started, it was a lot about fun. We were experimenting. We had no agenda. We didn't know where we were heading. It was like just trial and error led us to Terrible Twos, and as we were growing older, coming to age, Touch and Be came into play. That's how we.
And the name Touch and Be, I mean,
Okay, that's another story.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can't get my head
It
around
took us
it.
being twins.
it took
we
us
always-
half a day
But
literally to
you
come
know-
on that name. But
Being twins, you always want your upper hand. No, my idea is better than yours. I like, no, I like touch. Something has to be touch. For me, touch is so important. It could be like emotionally, physically, mentally, and for her, it was like be. It's all about being in the present.
or being, or let me be, or let them be.
Yeah.
I was always that's a part of my personality,
Being a certain way.
being a certain way,
And
or
then
just
we
to
just
be.
like, why don't we put it together, mash it up, like how we both are.
And then we
Touch
had like
and
4
Be.
segments which we have on Touch and Be, which is Touch and Be Health, Touch
Right.
and Be Life, Touch and Be People, and Touch and Be Fashion, which are things we really care and curate.
And social media was a big kind of player in making first Terrible Twos popular.
Yeah.
And now it's also, you guys are quite relevant on social media as Touch and Be
Yeah.
and as yourselves, as your own personalities, as Zina and Zoya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys, how did the social media change in the sense you lost a lot because you switched your social media followers
Yeah.
or you
Yeah.
closed your account, you tried to change it, it didn't work?
I think it all started when we both realized that how much of time we're spending on social media.
Yeah.
It started affecting the two of us. We both are highly sensitive people. We wanted to create mindful content. People confuse us for bloggers, and we just were not creating the right content for them.
Okay.
And we didn't want to just create mindless content to create attract followers, I guess.
But blogging is, how is blogging different from, I guess you're now running a lifestyle magazine?
Yeah,
or
it's
is
a
it lifestyle
publication. It's an online publication where we, like I said, it's not just about us. We're interviewing people. We're publishing their work. We're creating stuff, content from scratch. We are directing our own shoots. We're styling our own shoots. We're working with brands who we really want to work with, as opposed to doing 30 projects in a month.
Right.
I want to look at doing 1 or 2 in 2 months.
But was
look
it
at in
difficult
cost.
because you had, achieved so much on social media, which people die to? Everybody wants to become an influencer
Very
these days.
difficult.
Yeah, it was a
And-
difficult point at that
I
time.
never thought that it would be it would affect me so badly. It did to an extent, but I was happy on the contrary that I know in my heart what I really want from it. We lost a lot of followers. I actually personally sent out an email to all the magazines that I've worked with and PR companies that please do not send me those gift hampers. I will not be posting them because I'm not an influencer anymore. So if you want to work with me,
With
this
no
is the
offense
stuff that
to bloggers, I
Yeah.
really appreciate their
I think
work,
it's a lot
and
of work.
I really appreciate what they do.
Yeah.
But it's something we were not aiming at.
Yeah.
To going to events or attending these magazine openings, we were just. I thought that for me to create even one picture is creating art. That goes into creating one picture, one shot
Yeah.
to get it right was so much effort.
Sometimes it was like 10 hours of shooting.
Yeah.
Where you are responsible for your shoot because you're directing it. You've not
Right.
hired anybody else to do it. You're styling it. You're also going to be in it. So it was about 10 to 12 hours of shooting on a weekly basis, and you don't know what you're going to expect out of it, because brands have so much expectations out of you, and if you don't deliver that, you've got a name to keep out to. So it's kind of
Also, I
hindering
felt
our-
that if you have a social media platform, you have a social responsibility towards your followers and your
Yeah.
people.
Right.
That people usually tend to forget. And they were like, "Oh, you're not posting stories. You're not posting anymore." I was like, "Yes, because we choose not to. I don't want to post something that does not define us."
But this awareness about social media, it's become such a large problem.
Yes.
You guys somehow became self-aware that, this is a problem. You're waking up in the middle of the night. I think
Yeah.
you mentioned this in our discussion last
In the
week.
middle of my sleep, I woke up and I'm going on Instagram scrolling.
Checking your
And that
likes.
scared
checking
me.
your likes, checking your inbox, and also in a sad way, which is a sad, bitter truth, that I was seeing how other people are faring.
Yeah.
comparing yourself.
Comparing yourself.
Yeah, but that's the
That's
biggest
sad.
problem is comparison.
Yeah, exactly. And I realized when I started doing that,
Even
that's when I
comparison in
realized.
twins is not fair or equal. So I
In
can imagine in
anyone.
any kind of field or form, it just I think makes you negative.
And it's not like I wasn't happy for them, but it was like more than to do with me, that I'm not doing good
You
enough.
feel like a failure at some point that you're
And
not
that's
doing
when I
enough.
decided
Yeah.
I need to kind of pull those reins and take a break.
Pause. Yeah.
And you both felt this,
Yeah.
individually, that this
We
social
did.
media thing is getting
We
too
did.
much. We're
I think-
obsessing over it.
Yeah.
Was there
Being
an element
twins,
of
we've
obsession
always
over
yeah.
it?
There was a
Yeah.
complete element of obsession. I
Because
would
that's
say.
what I find with social media, and that's why
100%.
I gave it
It's
up.
any addiction, right?
Yes, so I gave it up about a year and a half ago
Yeah.
because I just felt that I am wasting so much time.
Yeah.
And everyone's life is perfect on social
Yeah.
media, which is we
Exactly.
all know it's
Nobody's
not.
gonna
And
put the
all
bad
the
stuff.
people who are on social media, I hear them say that, oh, nobody's life is perfect and social media is bad, but yet I see this obsessive culture surrounding social media,
Yeah.
and younger kids are getting on to Instagram and getting insecure, and I think a lot of the problems
Creating
are
more
stemming from-
anxiety.
Absolutely.
100%.
And you know,
Yeah.
Instagram, a portal like Instagram was never started for something like this.
It was supposed to be for photography,
It was
right?
supposed to be for
Yes.
photography
It's not a
and
Facebook.
instant photography, not your photo shoots being promoted on it. The idea, that's why it's called Insta.
Right,
Instant.
right.
And yeah, I think with the concept was lost, and the fact that people started promoting their brands on it, selling through it. It's a marketplace, a digital marketplace, I would call it, trading place.
And selling themselves the most, actually.
Yes.
And
It is.
Beauty. Women.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's kind of like a high as well. I'm not gonna deny that.
Yeah.
We have people recognizing us in different countries also.
Sure.
So it's flattering. We had digital illustrators who draw us from different parts of the country. We shot with Harper's Bazaar,
Yes.
Arabia. So it was a high.
It got
was-
us to places, but in the end, we decided, yes, when we were still creating content right now also, but we want to just create something that will suit us and our followers. As like I said, it's our social responsibility to create something mindfully. I think that word is so underrated, mindfulness,
So you're still on it, but I feel you're handling it very responsibly now. You take it with, great amount of seriousness, what you do on social
Yeah.
media and what you choose to put out there.
Yes.
For sure.
And who you choose to associate
Like, I don't
with.
even remember the last time I went on my Touch and Be page. It could be 2-3 days, It's not like
Right.
a work job for me
Yeah,
right
which
now.
is rare because anyone running a brand, especially like an online
Yeah.
portal like you
Yeah.
guys, you dedicate X amount of hours every day to that.
No,
To
there are
just
times-
manage your social media.
Yeah.
There are times we question ourselves, like, we reach so far and then we just drop it. It's such
Yeah, a lot of
it was
people
a
gave
big
us grief.
moment.
Were like, what's wrong with you
We
guys?
ourselves did question it.
Why are you
too.
doing something like this? You guys were so good. It was you were at your pinnacle and you suddenly dropped.
But you're still good. Or
I'm
you're
gonna
still
be a little
great.
modest here.
No, you're still great because you're doing what you love. You're doing
Yeah.
it the way you want to do.
Yes.
You are your own bosses,
Exactly.
and you don't owe that explanation to anyone but yourself.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's absolutely
Because I think
Those
it
are-
comes from a place that you are like us, at least I can just say for us, that we're in touch with ourselves, our emotions.
yeah.
It really, I think that is something very important. It was a big, important decision when we took that. We were in touch with how we were feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know how they're
And
feeling.
acting
They're not
on
in
our
touch
feeling.
with their emotions.
And it was not something that we decided overnight. It's not an impulsive decision that
No.
I'm gonna do this today.
Right.
Because I'm feeling like this. It's not a momentary feeling. It's not a temporary thing. It was something that I was feeling over months, and I decided, listen, it's a persistent feeling, and I have to act on it. If I don't respond to how my body feels or how my mind feels, why am I even existing?
You react to
Wow.
things in a bad way also.
Wow,
And,
that looks like. I mean, obviously, this took a lot of courage to do and change this entire mode that you guys were operating on.
Yeah, it did.
yes.
And but does this happen a lot? And I mean, I read about this. I don't know too many twins, and now I know, my favorite twins are sitting right here.
You're so sweet, Yameer.
But does this? I've read about this, heard about this, seen it in movies, and this connection between twins, and she thinks what you're thinking, you think what she's thinking. If one is, in a good mood, then so is the other. Or you hear about babies, one
Yeah.
guy cries,
Yeah.
the other one. So
We have
does this
telepathy.
happen a lot?
Yeah.
We have twin
And
tuition.
you got this kind of
Twin tuition,
feeling that
yeah.
we need to make a change
Yeah,
towards
for
what we
sure.
work together.
Yeah. We
I
felt it
We
since-
hadn't even discussed it with each other, and we both were feeling it individually. It was more like who's gonna say it first. It was like the elephant
Yeah.
in the room.
Right,
Yeah.
For a long time, because I was feeling it really strongly.
And so was I. But you don't want to hurt the person.
Yeah.
You have those thoughts in your head, and you think maybe
Because
you're
when we're working
overthinking at
together-
times. But then when it became persistent, like she said, then I was like, okay, now I really need to, because that's how we both are. When we feel something strongly,
Yeah.
we can't help but voice it for both of us, not just me. But if I have a thought in my mind, I have to share it with her. She's not just my sister, she's my twin.
Right.
And it's not I need a reaction out of her per se, but it's sharing something. It could be one of the worst things I did in my life.
Right. Right.
I just have to blurt it out to her. And that it just makes me feel lighter. Sharing is so big. I think sharing just makes you feel a lot more better and
sure.
lighter.
And I'm sure it was not. I'm not sure how supportive the family was that you guys are doing so well, and suddenly was
My
there.
mom did understand it a little bit. I mean, she's always been really supportive of everything. Even when we started Terrible Twos as a blog, she didn't know what a blog was, but she was fully supportive. She's like, do what you guys want to do. I have full faith in you. But yeah, she was kind of perplexed when we said we're not doing this anymore as much. So I had to sit her down and speak to her, and she's like, it's your life, do what you want.
Our family's been very supportive that way. They
Yeah.
just have never pressurized to work or not to work. It's like it's up to us, whatever you
Yeah,
want.
so it's been easy with family, but a little difficult with our followers and people who question, like people who I meet socially, and they're like, "What's wrong with you?"
Oh, who cares about people you meet socially?
Yeah,
But yeah,
I
but
don't
in the
care.
end, you have to choose them or yourself.
Yeah,
of
And
course.
yes,
It's not.
yes.
I don't care at all. But like I don't want to explain myself over and
You
over
don't
again.
need to. Of course,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't need
yeah.
to. And I think
I feel
eventually.
I
because
100% agree that you
eventually
don't
I
have
don't
to.
want. I don't think people will understand. So I refuse not to share it with everyone.
Right.
But because of how we think and how we connect with you, you understand what a person is going through on their daily life, how your mind functions. It's
You're in
easy to
touch with
talk to
yourselves,
you.
Yameer.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we've known each other socially for
Yeah.
years, but we just
We
never
never
got
got-
down
yeah.
to thinking that actually we're triplets
Yeah, well,
in an odd way because we all think,
Zoya.
yeah, Zizo, yeah, exactly. That's so
Yeah,
that
that's the
because
thing.
we think we think on the same wavelength.
Yeah, for sure.
And is that so? So I'm coming back to when you guys felt that this change needs to be made. Is that when you got interested in mental health and health overall, or
No,
No.
I've been interested. I've been working in mental health for some time. I think I started at the age of 2021.
Wow.
Where I started getting interested in it. I suffered through anxiety, and I mean, pretty much all my life, and chronic anxiety. And when I hit puberty at like 13 or something, my hormones drove me nuts, and I started getting low. We were put on hormonal pills, both of us, and we started
God.
getting depressed. So it was like downhill for me from then, and I started gaining weight. It was just like we got PCOD, so it was like just downhill for both of us. And that's when I realized by the time I reached 20, I was anorexic. And
by the time you were 20?
yeah.
And that was so this all started with being anxious.
I think being anxious, we both are athletic. I was a football captain and we played tennis at home. So it was just like, I think bunch of things that added, of course, my hormonal condition, PCOD, added to that, creating anxiety in me. And all the doctors would just say to us, you need to get healthy, you need to get healthy. So that kind
No,
of
you
like,
need to eat.
Yeah, we need
You
to
need to eat.
Yeah, no. First, I'm talking about when we were 14, 15.
Yeah.
So that's the time they're like, you need to get healthier, you need to lose weight. So I think kind of started on then when you like kind of brainwashed
You
into.
started associating weight loss with health for some
Yeah,
odd reason,
yeah,
which
exactly.
is not at all.
Mm,
They're not
Exactly.
linked at all.
They don't look into the mental aspect of your well-being at all. When they say, when you're 14 and 15, those words can change your life,
Yes.
including your parents, what they say, including teachers.
It feels like the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
At
of
that
course.
age, you take everything so seriously.
I mean, in a weird way, I felt like I felt grateful that at least I have her with me in this.
Sure.
But it was kind of an awkward stage, and
and which is a lot of people suffer through. 1 in every 4 girl has, or 1 in every 3 girl has PCOD in today's world.
which
Yes,
means
yes.
you're
Which is-
pre-diabetic.
Yes, and
Naturally.
it's also lifestyle disorder. So I don't think.
Absolutely, it's a lifestyle thing. I mean, every other girl I know
Yeah.
has. It's not.
It's probably
it's
could be
not a big-
autoimmune. I don't know.
It's not a big deal anymore, but people are not dealing with it, and it can have a lot of side effects for people.
Sure.
And it has
Like
various
for Zoya.
symptoms. Various symptoms. It created
And-
anxiety in me for sure.
And I know a little bit about this because my wife has the same
Yeah.
thing. Shanamli, has the same thing.
Yeah.
And the so-called allopathic treatment or the traditional medicine treatment is going on birth control.
Yeah.
And I
Which
have
in turn has
recently
another-
educated myself about the dangers of going on birth control for a woman. Oh my God, your risk of cancer goes up hundreds
Exactly.
of
Heart
times.
attack,
Yeah.
please.
Heart attack.
So the
It's just- it's the
gynecologist
worst thing you
I
can
kind
do.
of conferred with, and she said if you want to go on birth controls, but you may have cancer. And I was just like, are you really asking me to go on them, knowing that I may have cancer in the future?
You've got a very good gynecologist because most of them will not even tell you the risk associated with
But
going
but
on.
but then I was also kind of inversely
you know, I
affected
was,
by it because I was like, why are you suggesting something like that for me?
Yeah.
You know?
because there is no other
There is
cure.
no other- there's
Everyone
no
talks
other
it because
cure.
they
See,
don't-
there is no cure for PCOD. I would 100% agree with that. But there are, you can.
I'm
lower
saying
down
there's
its
no cure.
symptoms.
Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you, but I'm saying there's no cure in the way people speak. Like there's
Yes.
no
Yeah,
cure,
yeah, sorry,
but we
okay,
know
yeah.
that we can cure
There's
everything.
alternative medicine.
Absolutely.
There's changing your lifestyle habits.
Yep,
Habits make us and they define us.
absolutely.
Also keeping your stress levels down.
Yeah, for sure.
Meditation. There's so
And
many ways.
It's all about the
Yeah.
lifestyle.
It's all
It's
about
all
your
the mind.
lifestyle.
So coming back to what you said, I think it's even to say something is so difficult, and you've got a lot of courage to be able to say that at 20 I was anorexic.
Yameer, I've been through so much in mentally, emotionally, physically, and when I was suffering, my biggest thing was why don't people talk about it? Why is it such a big deal?
Why is it taboo?
Yeah. I remember when I started losing weight crazily in college, while I was studying in Regent's College, London, girls would ask me, they would really commend me for losing weight. And I would feel so sick inside. I'm like, why are you promoting this behavior or this size? This is not me.
I remember this girl coming up and asking Zoya, which is like such a distinct memory. It's almost 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
She was like, how did you lose weight? So Zoya said, I'm unwell. And she said, oh, how did you fall ill? Please tell me so I can fall ill and lose
Yeah,
weight.
I can never forget
Oh
that.
my God,
And
that is
I
so
was-
disturbing.
Can you
Yeah,
remember?
it
Can
was
you
disturbing. I felt really bad for
just
her.
see the desperation for her to lose
I felt
weight?
really bad for her
Yeah.
personally because I thought, you don't know what you're saying. You're in you have this illusion in front of you, the way that is your image. You're projecting how you want to look, how you want to be perceived. That you're harming yourself even just by saying something like that.
And the media has created this
Yes.
image, right?
Of a woman to
till
be-
size zero
Yeah.
models and superstars didn't
Even
exist
now,
till, our
even now,
parents'
I
time.
think everything that they say plus size, now which every fashion brand is promoting plus size fashion, is a marketing gimmick.
Absolutely. I
Why
agree.
don't we
It's
talk
not-
about man
nobody
being a plus
expects-
size or a man being a size 0? I don't understand that.
Yeah, it's
I'm not
such
a
a-
feminist here. I just want to clear that up. I just feel that why is woman always seen as this model for all these things? It's been decades,
eating
centuries.
disorders are naturally
Yeah.
associated
Yeah.
with being,
The-
must be a girl.
Yeah,
it's a
exactly.
girl
I know so
problem.
many men, but they would never come out.
But with men eating disorders is kind of more of a taboo.
yeah,
Right.
shame
You
attached
mean
to it.
there's a greater shame in being a male
Yes,
anorexic
yes.
than
Exactly,
being,
Yes.
for sure.
and that is so
Though
sad.
it's considered a woman's disease.
Yeah, there's no humanity there.
And so did somebody diagnose? Did you get help for it? Did you go to a counselor when
okay,
they
so-
said, okay, Zoya, I'm sorry, the diagnosis is that you are anorexic, or is it just something that you figure out? And how did it get diagnosed?
I kind of knew that already. I studied psychology in school, so I kind of had a feeling. All my answers that I've got it intuitively.
Right.
Thanks to universe or whatever I may call it. But I always got my answers from within.
Right.
And I remember when I was really sick and I had to drop out of college because I was actually really sick and I was hospitalized in London.
Oh God.
And my mother came to take me back, and I actually just said, yeah, I just want to get better now. I never denied it. I never fought it. I knew that this was something I need to focus on right now, which is my health, my emotions. But I think I became worse when I came to India. Because the
You
doctors
became
would...
worse when
Yes,
you came to India. Okay.
yeah. People would think the country that I've come back home, I would get better, I would start eating. A lot of people confuse anorexia nervosa as that we want to starve ourselves, but no. It's a lot to do with the emotional...
State.
Yes. It has nothing to do with not eating food. Food is a very minor aspect of it. Food is something that you can control. That's it. It has nothing to do with eating much or less. That becomes a very later aspect, but in India, I had a very hard time with the doctors explaining them. They didn't understand what eating disorders are in India.
Wow.
Yeah. So the psychologist, the therapist, I had to explain them to them, and then I would reach a point that didn't want to see them at all. They would just give you medication, an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety to numb your emotions, and then go home. That's it. Have a lifestyle. They would give you. I can't name the doctors.
Of
I would
course,
love to, and I actually screamed and fired one of them for creating this force over in hospitals that you're looking after patients, but you're actually not.
You're just medicating the hell out of
Yeah.
them. And this
Yeah.
is, I was having a similar chat with one of our other guests on the show, in which I said this, that isn't this a problem in India that for everything from a flu to a severe
Yeah.
mental
Just have a
disorder,
Crocin, just have this.
just pump them with medication. Or if
Yeah.
it's mood enhancers, antidepressants, and they have
And
a
they
whole
really
host of
numb
side
you.
effects. as
They
well.
numb your feelings and emotions.
I
That's
was
what they
supposed
do.
to feel my emotion, but they were numbing me. So for 1.5, 2 years, that went on, and I was not feeling like me. I felt like a zombie at times. I was
Yeah.
sleeping. I just wasn't me. Yes, I recovered physically. I gained weight. I went to the gym. I did weight training. I did all those things on my own because I wanted to get better. I was never. I wanted to fight back, and it was really hard to come back to India to be around people. They commented on me all the time. They called me names. So that was something really gave me the courage to fight back and to make even voice myself even more.
And you
Because
ca-
I know people who suffer silently. I know women who really suffer silently. They approach me all the time. And they're just living in this illusion of that they are something in Delhi.
Yeah, I was just going to come, and you came back to, well, no offense, but one of the worst places for perhaps a
Yeah.
mental disorder, which is Delhi, even though we're all suffering from mental disorders here
Yeah,
of
true.
various kinds.
Yes.
One of the most judgmental places one can live.
Yeah.
It was harsh.
Being a girl, being someone with mental issues, and having something like anorexia. So I'm sure the rumor mills had a field day and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
at your
all the time.
They had a
expense.
ball. I had people coming up to me and asking, "Is your sister gonna live? When is she going to die? She looks like she's dead already."
How can
Stuff.
people even
I
talk
was,
like this? Is
I
what
was, I
wonder.
was fuming. I was a person who never was a very confrontational. This city bring out that worst side of me. You can say that.
I would say the opposite actually. I think it also gave me the courage to fight back. For people who don't voice their feelings, their emotions, or talk about mental health, I felt maybe I can. So that's when I wrote an article for Huffington Post, where I
You
asked.
wrote an article for the Huffington Post.
Yes,
When was this?
I think it was 2014.
So was that about mental health, or what was
Yeah,
that
I just
article?
wrote my story slightly, like not in an exaggerated way, but a brief story about anorexia.
And you publish it under your own name, and you all.
Yeah, my name, and
It was
then
the first time she kind of came out publicly and told everyone, "This is what I have and I've been dealing
And
with."
that must have been difficult.
It wasn't actually at that time. I was, I think, more courageous, and I had
Or you were
that
just
fighting
being rebellious
fire.
and wanting
No,
to.
I was not rebellious. I've been rebellious all my life about many things, but this I was not rebellious about. I wanted to make a change.
You want to share your story.
It was a big deal, though. I'll be honest.
Of course, I'm sure
It
it
was because
uh,
people who kind of suddenly we had an influx of messages and emails from people, family, friends, relatives, social people, everyone saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, you're so brave. We didn't know, we did not know this and that." And a lot of people approached my parents, my mom. My parents were not very happy about this earlier.
They were not.
They were not. They were worried about her future. That what will people? They will term her as that girl who's anorexic, and they will never look at her normally. Like I guess a lot of parents would worry about their offspring
Daughters,
like
of
that,
course, yeah.
which is I don't know.
Yeah, I think I understand that now much better.
Because we live in a society, and it did happen. People were like, "Oh, she was anorexic," you know.
Yeah, so there's no
They
difference.
started
if
observing the way she eats.
you were anorexic, I was asthmatic. What's the difference?
I don't
really?
understand.
There has no
Yes,
difference.
thank you,
That's the
Yameer.
problem.
A physical and a mental condition has no difference.
But we know that.
We know that.
But
There were many things that that contributed to my anorexia. It was like my food intolerances. It was my anxiety. It was my hormonal condition. It was my childhood. It was many factors that contributed. And when I posted that, I got a lot of calls after that when people shared their own stories. But they always
Yeah.
told me in the end, please do not take my name. And I would tell them, that's your problem, that you're living under this false belief of being of being
denial.
discovered. You're not even allowing yourself that love or the freedom. Your freedom is in your hands. I chose that for me. I chose to be free of judgments of thoughts of other people. I chose me. Even in that state I had actually I had a relapse after 2 years of recovering. First 2 years in 2014, I had relapsed very badly.
Okay.
Because the medications were not working on me. And I realized that they were medicating me on a higher dosage and I didn't need that. I had a big fight in the hospital with the doctor. And I confronted him. And that's the time I went into therapy properly. And
Right.
I started feeling better.
You went off the meds then?
Yeah, I did.
You did go
Yeah,
off the medication.
I chose to get off the meds.
So I wanted to ask you, how does one, as a young person, start identifying that, I'm anxious or I have some sort of a, eating disorder, just to learn from your experience? And I hope someone can, hear what we're saying and be able to identify it, even if their parents can't, their peers can't, their friends can't, and have that kind of level of self-awareness that both of you have. So any kind of advice on that for young people in particular?
I think of when you realize being mindful is a very big key in all of these aspects, that how if you're being obsessive about a particular thing, whether it was my disordered eating, it started with eating healthy and then it became to
Right.
anorexia, and when I'm an athlete, so a lot of those things there's a line that you draw that that when you cross that, you have to be aware of. But it comes to being in touch with your emotions. We're not even in touch with our emotions at a young age. We don't talk about our feelings or express how we any emotions. We've seen sadness or anger as a bad thing, but those things are very important to release. So if we keep things bottled up, eventually they're going to blow up one day. And I think for me, when I realized that if I'm having an obsessive thought, whether it's about eating or somebody has about an alcoholic, or any drugs, or if you're getting anxious about many thoughts come into your head, that's anxiety.
Right.
To just pause. I think it's very important to just breathe and pause.
I think it's very important. Another aspect is how we talk to ourselves.
Yeah.
Because everybody talks to themselves, like the voices in my
Right.
head.
That's
We
exactly
all have
what it
voices
is,
in my
yes.
head, in our heads, and it's how we perceive ourselves. And when we look in the mirror, or forget having a mirror in front of you, how do you look at yourself? And when you have a mental image of you, is that a confident person? Is that a self-loving person? Or is that a person always competing and comparing with another person, saying, I'm not good enough?
Right.
I have this, I want to be thinner, or I want to be this, I want to be that.
We're always comparing,
That is a part of your anxiety, actually. The way we look at ourselves.
So this was I mean, I didn't have an eating disorder, but I definitely had, my wife still believes I have a body image disorder, because if I'm staring at myself in the mirror, and that's because I went through school as a pretty fat kid.
Yeah,
I was
you
close
said that.
to
So
100
that's
kilos.
very-
So it was normal for me to obsess about my weight then, and it's
Yes.
normal for me to obsess about my weight now.
So that's body
because-
dysmorphia.
Yes. So when I look in the mirror, I don't see a fat person. Of course, I see, I used to be so fat, and now I'm looking too thin on camera. The time we were testing some footage out a couple of days ago. And that was my problem. I said, and a thought came to my mind, people are going to look at this.
Yeah.
Those watching us on, let's say, YouTube versus hearing us on a iTunes or a Spotify, are going to say, man, this guy looks anorexic. And that's not true. I'm not anorexic. I'm the fittest that I've ever been. But
But
we
see,
start
then again-
judging people. It's
But
so easy to
there's
judge.
stereotypes. I think that's
Absolutely,
another
We
connotation.
label too much. We're labeling all the
Yeah.
time, everything. Even when I think when you're holding on to too much inside, that's when even body dysmorphia comes on into play.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're not expressing enough. You're evaluating everything. That's anxiety coming into play, actually.
But coming back to that point, that people actually use these words very
callously,
carelessly.
yes.
They don't know what they mean.
They don't know what they mean. When you're calling a skinny person, some people are naturally born skinny.
Yes.
That's
right.
not their fault.
Yeah.
And we should not shame them. On the contrary, people look at them like, that girl must be anorexic.
Yeah.
And I want to shake up such people and tell them, why are you talking about, do you even know the meaning of what an anorexic person goes through? Or for that matter, when people use words, even by bipolarity so casually.
Right, right.
Are you bipolar? 5 minutes ago you were so happy and now you're feeling...
Or are you depressed?
Yeah.
It's all these terms are not very mindlessly used.
But when we also casually say he's mad, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but even that now, I mean, depends on how seriously you want to take it.
If you're close to your friend, you're saying it casually, even that should not be taken, it should be taken seriously. I think then that there's a problem with all of us as well.
You're talking about how people are judging others by
Yes.
using these words like
Yeah.
they're depressed or he's...
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest problems is lack of education on the subject. So,
Yes.
you mentioned voices in my head. So the intro of the
Yes.
series is something I still have to do, but I wrote it down, and and this is a little different from the aspect that voices in my head is a book that I'm working on, which is going to be coming
Yeah.
out hopefully sooner than later. But what I realize is that why I chose voices in my head, because voices in our heads are thoughts.
Yes.
They are.
And these it's good thoughts and bad thoughts, and it's that
Yeah.
constant war between
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
And unfortunately it's the bad thoughts or the bad voices that win, and that's what creates this anxiety and depression
At times, yes.
and all the other issues. And when I was telling a friend from Delhi, and I'm highlighting Delhi here, that I'm writing this book, and he said, "What do you mean you were depressed? You just need to get laid, man."
Wow.
So this
Because you're a boy,
showed-
right?
No, they showed the lack. I said, okay, I'm sorry, but this guy's
Lack of
IQ
education.
is so low.
Or empathy.
And there's no empathy, there's no
Yes.
connect. I said, I'm telling you this because I thought you're a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And of course, we were talking in a social setting, and we had a couple of drinks, but it was not one of those 1,000 people Delhi parties. It was a dinner where
Yeah.
5-7 of us had gathered.
And you're connecting with people.
And I believed I was connecting with someone. I was sharing my life. And he
You
said,
did your part.
No, and he said, what do you mean you're depressed? You just need to get laid. It's
like-
so sad. Actually.
It's like telling me, oh, you just have to eat.
You just have to eat.
The doctors will tell you,
You
you just
know-
have to eat. And I was like, you know what? Do you even know what you're talking? It's just
Yameer, I've
mindless
come to the
chatter.
conclusion that people talking about mental disorders in our city and in our country makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Imagine I am at a party or somewhere and I just go up to somebody who's not so close to me and I say, I'm not feeling well, I'm having a panic attack.
Yeah.
Can you just stay with me 5 minutes? I don't know how many of them are actually going to stay there and make me calm.
But because
On the contrary,
they know
they'll
what a panic attack is.
They don't know.
I
Yeah.
had one recently at a shoot, and I was shooting after a long time, and I was
Right.
not excited about it. And when I reached the room was very crowded. It was dark. The AC air conditioner was not working, and I'm claustrophobic.
Right.
I reached there, and it's a perfect setting for me to have an attack. It's like calling me in, and I'm like fighting my thought. No, you're fine. But no, it comes in. And you can't help it. When
And the
it
more
comes,
you
it comes for you
try
like
and
a
resist it.
yeah. It's like a cyclone coming at you, and then you're in it, and you're just like lost. Nothing matters. No place matters, and you're gone. For 5 minutes, you're blown. And then I try to tell somebody I need to leave because there's no air conditioner. It's too tight for me. They're not understanding me, but the voices in my head are telling me to leave. So I just tell them, excuse me, I'm really sorry. Give me 20 minutes. I'm going to walk out. I need some air. And then did my breathing techniques, my grounding techniques. Grounding is hearing, seeing, feeling,
touching.
and touching two to three things that are in my environment to get a sense of where I am, which I do pretty much every day, anxiety or no anxiety, to just be present in the moment and to release any tension.
So
Like
one
I could be
thing
doing this. People find me fidgety at times, but I do that just to ground myself.
So you mean just like kind of feel your
Yeah,
one from
it could
one
be
hand
this,
or
it
pat
could be
yourself
this.
on the back?
It
But
could be
or
really-
anything.
but really
any
feeling it.
object or anything.
any object.
It can be anything.
But really feeling it. You can't just be doing it like that. Mindless, well, it has to be
understand,
done
yes.
very mindfully. And and then I went back and I shot 2 hours. I was good. But I just realized that at that moment, nobody understood me.
Of course not. And as Zina is saying, in a party, if you go
Yeah.
to someone and say, I'm having a panic attack, and
They'll
the
think you're
majority of the
crazy.
people, unfortunately, will not know. They'll definitely not know what to do and how to help you, but they won't know what that is. They'll
think you're crazy.
I was just thinking,
Honestly.
the chances are so high of them thinking, she's having a heart attack.
Yeah, 100%.
Because
Yeah,
a lot
you
of the
can say
symptoms,
that.
and I know because I've had panic attacks too, and I very rarely get them now. But yes, it's possible, and similar triggers. If it's too hot, it's claustrophobic.
same.
I don't like being
You
in
start
constrained
sweating.
places. Yeah, exactly.
Your heartbeat is really
And
fast.
sometimes I get it because if I'm working out too hard and my heartbeat is quite high, unfortunately, being asthmatic, I always have this fear of not being able to breathe, which is another aspect of this issue of going into closed spaces or a small lift or something like that. So when
Yeah.
my heartbeat is too high and then I'm, breathing hard to kind of get it back down, that kind of sometimes triggers it. But I found a hack for that, and you can try it and tell me if it works. And well, it's not always going to be possible to have that around, but if you take really cold water
Yeah.
at the time and just pour it on your head, literally just pour it, what that does is the cold forces your heart to kind of do a reset.
Stabilize,
It actually really calms you down. It just it breaks the panic attack momentum, so you can actually pretty much 99% get back to your senses and realize, okay, this is okay. I'm not gonna die. It's feeling like I'm happy, because the first time I got it, I thought I'm having a heart attack,
Same.
and I was in my 20s, and I was sitting in a serious meeting with my boss and some other people, and we were at the Grand Hotel, I still remember, and I didn't know what's happening, and it was so scary. It
Yeah.
is such a
is
scary thing to
scary.
experience, and I wish people would educate themselves more about it, and just
The first time I saw her, I panicked.
I was 17.
I was supposed to help her, but I panicked because I didn't
Of
understand
course,
what she's going
of
through.
course. You were kids,
And
yeah,
you know,
17.
it's equally
It started
important.
for me in school actually. I was, I think, 15. I walked out of my exam.
Oh, God.
I couldn't, I didn't know what was happening to me. I was anyways not a good student, but for me to walk out of the exam, because my thoughts became so crazy, I couldn't breathe. And when I looked around, I just saw people like writing their exams, and there's an invigilator sitting, and what do I say? So the only thing I knew, I just had to run out. I just ran out of the classroom, and I failed the exam, but I didn't care that time. And
Of course.
and I spent the entire day in the clinic. I refused to come out, and because I didn't know what was happening to my body. And then when I went to my family doctor, and he said, "Oh, you had an anxiety attack." I'm like,
I'm
really?
glad that he diagnosed that.
I'm like, I'm
He's a family
15.
doctor, and
I don't know what to make out of this. He's like, "Are you been stressing about anything?" I was like,
Yes, my exams.
not really. In life.
No, but there's so much pressure
Yeah,
about,
in general.
it's always been.
Yeah, comparison, there's pressure. Being twins, there's always a comparison, who's better, it's always been there for us. And without realizing, we're always comparing us with the other.
yeah.
And internally, that becomes an inner chat inside. Without knowing, it becomes your world. That talk inside is just that then.
And this is what all these experiences led you to start, reaching out and educating yourself and then helping others through you to, this is the first time, I think I was aware of art therapy, but when I heard you, say
Yeah.
it last week, it was amazing, and I really want to learn more about. So if you can tell us about, art therapy, and then you design workshops to
Yes.
help kids who are going through or with different learning abilities, and also ones who are suffering from perhaps eating disorders and other mental disorders. So how did you get to the point of design? Did you study about this? Did you learn about this?
So I've attended some workshops, and I've been it's always been my own creation of these various aspects that I wanted to make into a workshop.
Right.
Not one or per se I copied something, but I've been working with psychotherapists over the years, and I worked closely on spiritual aspects that healed me finally, and I work along those lines, and I'm an artist, so that helped me get into art therapy.
Right. So what is art therapy? really?
Well, art therapy is basically, it's not about creating the right art or the perfect art or that you're an artist. It's actually releasing, because creativity is so big, and it really is. That was one of my biggest stress busters.
Right.
To create something to release. If
To express yourself,
Yes, to
rather.
express.
Yeah.
We don't express ourselves. I think we all are creative. We have that creative side in us. We just don't know how to tap into it. I've always been a very creative child. I love styling. I love drawing. I love painting. I love singing. It was just, all those things.
All kids love that,
Yeah.
but somehow
Exactly.
it's just not taken forward unless you're,
Everybody loses it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be, a boy is supposed to be an athlete or something more manly or masculine.
I think,
And the girls are supposed to do, like in today's world, everybody's like a blogger or a stylist
Oh,
or
God,
a
yes.
designer. So you're not really in touch with, it's like going back to your childhood. And I she's tried it on me as well. As a 28-year-old, I enjoyed art therapy. I was like, wow, this is so much fun. I should do it once a week
give
at least.
people a tool that they can do it without me. And
So you
it
teach
can be
them.
fun. It's not like meditation. I mean, it is meditative, the process, but it is something that can be fun. You can do it at home. You can do it with friends, family. You can do it at dinner, lunch.
So can you, like, how do I do it if I want to do it today after our chat?
Okay, so there are ways that I do with people. One is when I blindfold people and I teach them guided. It's like a guided meditation.
Right.
But when I teach them how to you just paint with their thoughts, when you not
So
releasing the thoughts.
my eyes are closed, and I've got you've given me some colors or
Yes,
paint, like
paints and
paint.
brushes, water, and you have your own canvas or paper, whatever. And then I ask you to actually urge you to express what you're feeling. So whether it could be, it's following your body actually, because we're always in the mind. The mind-body connect is not there.
Right. Yeah.
They have to come
Connect.
together. The marriage has to come. We always that's one of the reasons where we abandon the body so much. We're living in the head so much, and that's why we have physical ailments.
Psychosomatic disorders,
exactly,
one of them,
yeah.
but all the other ailments are definitely coming from the
That's why
mind.
even
sure.
grounding, for that matter, is using your body also to.
And you also design, as you said, workshops for
Yes.
kids with different learning abilities. And so, what are those, and how do you do it?
So I've attended some workshops, and I kind of went through ADHD.
Right.
And I keep learning. For me, I'll always be learning, and I'll always be healing both.
So ADHD is attention deficit
Yes.
hyperactivity
Hyperactive
disorder.
disorder.
I
for
was
those who
not
don't
diagnosed
know.
properly for
Right.
it. You know, in India, you don't talk about these things. Parents that don't know what it is.
OCD
what
and
symptoms
ADHD are
are.
not
Yeah.
given so much importance.
And I think every other person is OCD.
I think ADHD is also like another form of anxiety.
Absolutely, it is.
Even
Yes.
OCD.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
also
OCD
then-
for sure.
Yeah, they
OCD
both
for
are
sure.
Yeah.
purest form of anxieties.
So I used to be really
Sorry.
hyper, and attention used to vary. But I think also attention comes with interest.
Right.
Not everything not everything you like, you are interested in, or you do. Sorry, are interested in, or her or me. For me, I was not interested in maths or Hindi, so I just didn't pay my attention to. So a person is easily labeled ADHD also these days.
Sure.
But if they have not been given the correct diagnosis or the correct environment, of course the kid is going to suffer through disorders, or the body is going to act out, right? Or the mind.
Sure. Sure.
If they're caging the mind, the education system is so wrong in our country. They're asking us to be these societal animals, where we're meant to be free thinkers. We're supposed to evolve and learn from our own mistakes. And a child is supposed to be a child, not a man or a woman.
And that's for sure. I totally agree with what you're saying. And we're heavily penalized for getting it wrong.
3 to 5 is the age where your body reacts to the genetic environment that you're played into. And if that environment, whether your home or your school, is not right, you will have ADHD, OCD, or many other disorders that can lead to depression, bipolarity, schizophrenia, anything, autism also included.
And stress, most of
Yes.
all stress, which
Yeah.
leads to all the killer diseases which we
Yeah.
know of today, which is cancer and everything else that you can name. Stress is a big killer.
I mean, I guess, we cannot change our education system fully. We're not responsible for it. But I think mindfully, as conscious people, we can educate the right kind of crowd and young
think-
parents.
Yeah.
Because now I see people caring slightly more towards the mental health of a child also.
And you're
it's
doing that
something-
through your seminars, and you guys are doing seminars and workshops.
Because I feel
in
like it's equally
schools.
important for family members of the person who's suffering, or of a child who's not suffering yet, to kind of understand what these things are.
To be educated,
To
they're
be
not educated enough.
to
yes.
have the kind of right kind of therapy for themselves.
resources, yes.
To guide the person who's suffering. For me, I had to, like when she was going through anorexia, I had to educate myself how to
Right,
deal with
sure.
her. I couldn't have my way with her. Because it was a person suffering through any other physical disease, but in a mental form. And I had to tweak my ways of talking, dealing with her, and educating myself. A lot of time was wasted figuring out how to do it, because in our country, I also went to therapists in order to learn how to talk to her.
Sure.
And they gave me a chart. They gave me medication.
I was just going to ask you, did they put you on a
They gave me
medication as a joke? But
They gave me antidepressants.
They gave you antidepressants.
They gave me antidepressants saying, you must be going through so much because of your sister. I think you should have antidepressants, get better, and then we'll talk about. Instead of educating me what anorexia is, I became a
I think
victim as
communication
well.
communication is very
Yeah.
important between parents and kids, and between teachers and kids. You need to be really mindfully say things or teach things also. If you do not share what you're feeling or
Right.
how you're feeling, it's very important to voice.
Yeah.
If you do not, but kids don't know how to voice, so they're given art, music, to express, sports, for sure. But in the end, you have to be able to voice what you're feeling.
And that's so difficult,
There are
especially
schools in the
Indian
world now.
families.
There are schools in the world now that they're creating
A lot
this.
of kids can't speak up and say even a simple thing as what they want to eat.
There's a friendship bench in one of the schools, and I just recently learned that in England, a boarding school. But the friendship bench is actually where you invite a friend into the bench, where you want to share a feeling, an emotion with the friend.
Wow.
So if you see people sitting on that bench in a school, so people will know and they'll respect that those two kids are having a heart to heart, and that's something I really love.
Yeah, it's a beautiful concept.
Yes. And the school I was recently invited to, Hope Town School, it's a girls' school, boarding school in Dehradun. They every year have a psychology festival, and that initiative is so huge. And the kind of questions those kids asked me when I shared my story and when I did art therapy, I was amazed at, because those girls are in touch with themselves. They are. I think it's school's huge responsibility to advocate those feelings and to inspire them to talk about these things, to normalize. I think to normalize these things is so huge.
Yeah.
And people underrate it.
And it's not happening in any of the other schools because I'm not aware.
It's
I
happening
know
in
that-
Dehradun, which is in
Yeah.
India.
Bullying is so
It's
big
a
in India.
progressive.
Yes. Yes.
But I guess it has a lot to do with how the school's teachers and the faculty thinks about dealing with their students. And growing up, none of us had that.
Yeah.
We had a school therapist, but it was like she was as good as non-existent, very honestly.
I had the same feeling that the school janitor was superior to the school counselor because I didn't know what the counselor's job was. It was
I
just a
have
scary
to admit,
teacher.
we bribed our school psychologist into stealing our room, and in
We
return,
just wanted to
sent,
bunk and sit there.
and in
very
return, I
honestly.
sent my yoga teacher to our house. You
Wow.
know?
Yeah, and that worked.
We were smart.
Terrible twos.
Literally,
100%.
It worked very happily beautifully for
Yeah,
us.
but that was not her job, right?
No.
And
And we would make up stories. Sadly,
We
I
should have
have to
been
admit,
reported.
we would make up stories that our family is treating us like shit, so she would give us time. We've done those terrible things
Yeah.
also. We're not
Wow.
proud of them, but you see what a child has to do to survive.
oh, it's a tough world.
That's
and
what I
it was
meant.
a tough
That's
world
what I
when
was
we
coming
were
to.
growing up, and I think, much older than you, but we'll keep that bit a secret. And it's even tougher now because
Yeah.
you have the pressures of social media and smartphones and devices in the hands of toddlers, and they
Yes.
learn to get addicted to them, and they learn all these things. In fact, you don't even need to be anxious. These devices will make you
Make you
anxious.
anxious.
They're alienating you, first of all.
We didn't get anxious because of social media. I guess you guys got it at a later date, but when you were 14, I'm sure you didn't have Instagram in the palm of your hand.
And I had human connection with my sister, with my family, with my friends. I would sit and
With
spend time with
nature,
them
you
as
know, we
opposed
grew
to
up on the farm,
being on my
we-
phone. But I think also like schools really need to
Imbibe that, yeah.
like sex education is
Oh,
kind
yes.
of, if you can have a sex ed, why can't you have like a mental disorders kind of a forum or like education
Or
too?
have meditation as a subject. Why not? What are you going to do with Hindi after one point? Tell me. Or Sanskrit. Are you going to become a scholar? No. I don't understand.
Because
I think
these things are
it
looked
should
down
really be
upon
looked into. Where
as a society.
yes, the kid may oppose after two meditation sessions, but in the end they will realize what they're doing. It's just
And another problem is that when you go and tell somebody you're going to a therapist, automatically
Oh,
people
God.
think you're mad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
So are you
can't.
mad? Are you okay?
but you look fine.
Are you going to
You look
psychiatrist?
fine.
I'm like, first it's not psychiatrist. And excuse me, they're two different things. A therapist is somebody you talk to.
Yeah. Or a counselor, someone
A counselor.
you speak to.
You talk to, you just share. So you're talking to a random person. You can't talk to me. So you get those kind of questions, and it's
It's
kind
very
of baffling.
bizarre, you know. When
And then they start talking about how something's wrong with that girl, or there's something wrong with that guy.
Yeah.
He goes to a psychologist, or he
Yeah.
goes to, he's mad.
I find
That
it.
word-
I
that
find, I
word
find
mad
it part
is so-
amusing now. Very
Yes,
honestly.
yeah, you have to have humor in your recovery. For me,
For
at
sure.
least, like I wrote many songs on it. I wrote articles on it. I painted my illness out. So you have to have that humor in recovery. It's so
No, so
important.
you guys have been extremely brave about this whole subject and how you've turned your life around. How
It took
you,
a long
How
time,
you
I mean.
gave up a flourishing career in one aspect and then and you changed it to something that was much more meaningful for both
I think
of you.
I still suffer through the consequences of what I put my body through. So I request everybody to be mindful of what they do to themselves, and mentally, emotionally, physically. I still suffer and I still have bad days because of my health. And had somebody been I don't know, had I that knowledge or that awareness at that age, I wouldn't have been here. But no regrets. But all I can do is tell the others what to do.
No, you were saying, and in in the same spirit of what you're saying, and because I would love to talk to you guys forever, and you know that we
Yeah.
guys can keep talking forever, but being mindful of time, and
Yeah.
we touched upon certain areas, and I want both of you to give just one piece of advice that you can give, that what can I do today in, let's say, for social media, eating disorders, anxiety, and okay, let's just start with social media,
Yeah.
and then I'll come to the next one, and I just want you guys to tell me one thing from your experience that is your advice to young people listening. Let's say social media, like what should they do or what should they not do?
In order to like avoid that.
Yeah, I
kind
mean,
of,
just to not let it like the
engulf
issue
you.
of social media.
I
right?
would say firstly, don't follow something that is not real. Don't. It's an illusion. Social media is an illusion. It's an addiction. It's something that could be there tomorrow, or everything is impermanent anyways. So I think be very mindful about the kind of content. If I'm not saying get off social media, but there's some mindful content you can follow.
Also put out. Also mindful content that you put out. Are you putting that for gratification? Are you putting that out
Attention.
for attention? Are you putting that out for just because you liked something and you want to put it out there and share with your friends or something? I guess so. And also recognizing how much time you're spending on it.
I think
Is
it
that-
takes.
I think that's
I
very
think
important.
because
How much
yeah,
time
it's
you're
like
spending on
it's
it.
like you and I decide to meet for lunch, and I have no interest in what you're saying,
Yeah.
so I would spend 3 hours of my coffee or lunch on my phone rather than and kind of half-heartedly listening to what you're saying and responding
Or
to
keep
you in
picking up.
ahs and oohs and yes.
People do that
Keep
all the
picking
time, and
up
I
my
find it
phone.
so.
Yeah.
I find it rude. I
It
find
is
it
rude.
so rude.
It is
rude. But it's
rude.
also a twitch. I've realized
It
it's also,
is.
sometimes
anxiety.
I find myself,
It's a
it's
twitch.
anxiety.
It's
So
anxiety.
They don't
I
even
find
know it and I
myself
know
just
it.
reaching out for my phone for no reason. I just check it. Why am I it's like, it's muscle memory,
It
it's
is.
just going and
It
picking
is.
it up and it's putting it on. It's,
Unless you need it. But
really, what do we need?
it's
This
it's
word
me,
need.
it's you, it's my parents, it's everyone.
Yeah.
They've kind of rediscovered something that they can rely on without having to talk to people.
Without
know?
having needing any
Yeah.
kind of
Needing
real
anyone
connect.
around you. It's become like a kind of social alienation.
I think also taking responsibility for what you, like you said, putting out. You have to own up to that.
Yeah.
People don't.
So social media, you're saying be real.
See how much
it's
time
an
you're spending on
illusion.
it.
Yeah.
And be mindful of the time you're spending on it.
Yeah.
Next is eating disorders. Specifically, I'm asking because it's
Yeah.
something that you have, experienced. I mean, what should one do? One thing, just one thing.
I
for one
think
to do.
first figure out who you are. It takes courage to be who you are. Because not everybody has that awareness or that ability to find who they are.
And to not be in denial, I think. Because that's something that can drag you, something which will take you really long to recover or never recover. A lot of people with eating disorders are heavily in denial.
Right.
Or they never recover and they possibly die from it.
Yeah, that's,
Yes.
of course, that's the scariest outcome.
It is.
Yes.
And it's
But,
70% out of 70% people don't make it out of eating disorders.
The reason I said be who you are is
Wow.
because
Yeah.
people are scared to be, like, I was not scared to be an anorexic because I was out and about. I was sad
Right.
and I wanted the world to see it. If I had anxiety, it's okay. I didn't make a big deal about it. I accepted, I embraced my deformities or whatever you want to call it with with a good stride. And not everybody has that.
Yeah, most people don't do that.
They don't, because they don't know who they are.
So being self-aware and
Yes.
doing things to be self-aware
Yeah.
is extremely
I think
important.
discovering who you
accepting it,
are,
yeah.
discovering who you are is a very big step in this, because otherwise people are just playing roles of a mother, of a daughter
I mean,
in the
that can
society.
be, but that can be difficult when you're really young. Say you're 13 and 14 and you have an eating disorder. It can be very difficult to discover yourself, but also to be able to reach out for help.
Right.
I think that's very important. It should not be something shameful that, oh, I went and threw up today. Oh, I'm not eating for 6-7 days. It should be okay for a child
that
or a
comes with-
person, 1 second, sorry, to go and ask for help from their family or and in the future a doctor or a therapist or something.
I feel that comes with knowing who you are.
Well, kids don't know who they are at 13.
I think I kind of
I think
knew.
I still don't know who I am at
Exactly.
34, but okay, almost
I'm
know
not
who I
saying
am. But
I'm not saying in that relate
Yes,
it, like
I
sense that they will
understand.
find out who
Yeah.
you are in that sense. But just being aware of the fact that you have it, these thoughts of anorexia, of all these obsessiveness, it can be really uh, take you to places. I think that is one of really big step.
So similarly, in this the solution of being self-aware is going to play into anxiety and depression as well. If you're self-aware, you know. Is that,
100%.
that's what you recommend? I assume, because that's what you said for eating disorders. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of flowing into anxiety and depression, and this is all connected. What comes first? It's
Yeah,
chicken
yeah.
and egg.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
impossible
yeah.
to say. So being self-aware, is that what you recommend even for anxiety and depression?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of recognizing that you're going through something, I think.
Because people don't even recognize that or
Yeah.
not aware of that.
Or they think they're too scared. I think we all live in kind of that doomed sense of fear that, oh, there's something wrong with us. And something which is not easily talked about. So, am I mad? We judge ourselves the most, I think.
Absolutely.
So when you have the voices in your head, you think you're going crazy. And it happens a lot of times with people who have anxiety. You're sitting in a social setting of say 10, 15, 20, whatever people, you're chatting but you're not there
Yeah.
because you're in your head. That's when you kind of have to kind of differentiate that, either be like click yourself out of it, or you have to recognize there is something different, not wrong, but they're different with you, which needs kind of an intervention and sharing.
And this, I guess this comes with, like exercise. This is an exercise. It's a practice. You have to build your self-awareness. You have to
Yes,
practice
yes,
it
yes,
every
yes.
day, and that's when it gets
It's
stronger.
food for thought, no?
It's food for thought, and
Yes.
it gets stronger as you continue to exercise.
And then it becomes
it.
like muscle memory.
It becomes like
You know, I read somewhere, I don't know where it was, I think it said that you should make your mind your best friend rather than your worst enemy. And that stuck to me because every time, before anybody shaming me, I think I shamed myself more. And that's when I realized all my confidence would be lost there. If I talk to myself the way I would talk to somebody in pain, say my sister or family member or a friend of mine who's suffering, I will give them love. I will nurture them. I will reach out to them in a nice way and talk to them nicely. I should do the same with myself.
That is self-love, and that is not being selfish. People confuse it for being selfish, but it's actually you giving. If you can give yourself the love first, then only you can give to others.
Okay, so on that beautiful note, I'm going to close our discussion. But
Right.
I know tons of people are gonna get in touch with you, gonna want to follow you. So how does one get in touch with you? Do you guys have a website, or is there a social media? Where they
Yeah,
can
we
follow
have our
you?
Instagram, we have our website, and
It's called Touch and Be.
Touch and Be.
So at Touch
At
and
Touch
Be.
and Be.
Is it so TOUCHANDBE?
Yeah.
And is that way they can go and send you a message, get
Exactly.
in touch? Maybe someone wants to do art therapy.
So I'm creating a personal Instagram page for that. I've been like trying to stay away from social media, but at the same time, I think it is important. I have to keep up with the times, and I'm thinking of creating a mindful page on art therapy and therapy, both.
Okay, fantastic. So, guys, that was Zina and Zoya, and getting into their heads and listening to the voices in their
Noises.
heads was.
I think Yameer got into our head.
Noises in my head.
I think Yameer got into our head.
Yeah, of
listening to
course.
the voices in their head, but they like to believe they're noises, but listening to the voices in Zina and Zoya's head have been fascinating for me. And I have learned, every time I meet them, I get an education, I learn something, and I
Likewise,
become a smarter person, I'd like to believe, and I have ways to improve my life. So I hope you experience something similar by listening to Zina and Zoya. And thank you for tuning in to Voices in My Head. You can get in touch with us with these details, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you, Yameer.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
having
for having us.
us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Voices in My Head is created and hosted by Yameer Adhar. This podcast is for information purposes only. Statements and views expressed on this podcast are not medical advice. We disclaim responsibility for any adverse effects that may arise from any information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guests' qualifications or credibility. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.